Hi, everyone, and welcome to the White Rabbit podcast. My name is Matt, coming to you from Bandırma, Turkey. And my co-host, Alper would usually be coming to you from Barcelona, Spain, but he could not join us today. So today it is just me and our guest, Can Işıktaç. John is a lawyer in Istanbul, working on international investments and M&A transactions. So, John, say a quick hi to our listeners, and then I will tell them some more intro stuff.
Hi, everyone.
I met John at a luncheon a few weeks back, and we hit it off initially because, as you know, I am originally from California, and John went to undergraduate university at a school not far from where I grew up. And John also, as I found out, has an interest in medieval history. So if you want to talk about medieval history, John's your man.
At least I
So,
will listen
John,
to them.
yeah, yeah. So John, so help me out here. Help me finish up this intro. Is there anything that you would like our listeners to know about you that I have not mentioned yet?
It's basically it. I think you mentioned all interesting stuff about me. Other stuff is boring. So
Okay. And John, before I forget, tell our listeners if they want to get in touch with you after the podcast, where can they find you?
you can just Google me. You can find me from LinkedIn. If possible, I will share my LinkedIn with you. Also, my email address is john at my surname Işıktaç.av.tr if
Okay.
you need to reach me.
Excellent. Thank you, John. So let's get down to business for today. The theme for this podcast is Juris-Imprudence, how modern law lost its way. And dear listeners, don't worry, you're in the right place. This is the White Rabbit podcast. And yes, it is a podcast about presentation and communication skills. So what we'll do is in a future episode, Alper and I will unpack, just the two of us, we'll unpack from a presentation perspective what John says today. So what we're doing today is I am basically gathering data from John. So we're going to listen to him talk about what he means by that, about juris-imprudence. So John, start us out. Juris-imprudence, how modern law lost its way. Tell me more. What do you mean by that?
All right, just it starts with a corny pun, maybe.
Okay,
But
go for it.
I mean, I like reading and thinking this kind of stuff. Normally, my duty is quite technical, actually, and we are basically working like engineers. But this kind of stuff also very interesting for me, and I'm a bit included in the academia, so thinking stuff is also important.
Yeah.
Jurisprudence means not juris-imprudence. Jurisprudence means legal theory. My mom is a jurisprudence professor, first of all, so I've been exposed to very high-level questions at a very early age, and those questions do not have answers, but they keep in the back of your head. So sorry for the corny pun in my title, but
No problem. We're big fans of puns here.
yeah, okay, glad to hear that. But anyway, so there are many angles from which we can approach this. But for the sake of starting from somewhere, I want to begin with an example that everyone faces probably daily, if not more often. The concept has been, the concept that I'm trying to make is explored in academic studies a lot. I mean, I just did a quick Gemini search about the numbers and stuff, on hyper-regulation or and extensive compliance. So basically, these are my subjects. These are the things that I want to criticize about the modern law. And on Google Scholar, there are 10,000 articles on extensive compliance published after 2005. And
Wait,
2000,
10,000?
10,000. These are
Wow.
Gemini numbers, but I think they look realistic because obviously I don't have the time to read 10,000 articles, but when I take a closer look at the titles, and I mean, not all of them are law related. Also, I must say that, but and also the other title is hyperregulation. And after 2015, which coincides with the things that I'm going to tell, there are 2,000 articles, and that's on Google Scholar, so it eliminates not academic stuff as much as it can. So, well, my point is here, like, I'm concerned about where the law is going and the justice, the idea of justice generally. So the numbers show that I am not the only one who is concerned about what is going on in the world. So I'm just supporting myself with the numbers. And what is it I'm trying to talk about is, let's assume you are in a hurry. And I mean, I live in a big city, and I think I'm always in a hurry. So I assume in this postmodern era, everyone is in a hurry somewhat. But anyway, you need to call your bank. Let's say you need to cancel a accidental transaction you made. So you're really in a hurry. And once you call the bank, you talk with the chatbot, not or callbot, whatever it is called, not with a real human. And they start talking about their data protection policy, that you can press a certain number to listen to some stuff, and they have something policy. It has been recorded. Some always the same show. I mean, from us, from individual point of view, it steals your 1 minute or 1.5 minutes of your life. And it's not that much. Okay, we have lots of 1 minutes in our lives, but I just want to point out what a waste of time this really is. First of all, as a lawyer, sometimes we are the ones behind the scenes who are drafting all these documents that no one reads at all. So this is one waste of time, and there's a compliance team in those corporations who foresee the regulations and stuff. There
Yeah.
is an IT department who handles the technological implementations of those, and this is just the corporate side. From administrative side, there are agencies doing that. Policies full of people. They develop procedures. They audit compliance and impose fines. And it's not. It's also like when a fine is imposed, another legal team comes into play, and they oppose the fines. So it will be a judicial procedure. Judges involved, legal staff is involved, etc. And on the legislative level, EU-like structures create policies, and governments legislate them. So, and it's not. I mean, there are like million sides of it, but there are lobbyists and interest groups who are trying to bend all these regulations to their wills. So, like, it is extremely amount of work, too much work. So I assume something like that should create a value for us, right?
Hmm.
Or else, why is all that hustle? By the way, I watched your episode about values. Anyway, so as Matt told, I'm a medieval history enjoyer, but that's an hobby. I don't make any money out of it. I'm a reader mostly, but I want to bring in a very important medieval figure, if at this point, if it is okay.
Sure, go for it.
High medieval scholastic person called Thomas Aquinas.
Mhm.
Latinist
Sure.
pronunciation is terrible. As I
Yeah.
told you, I'm a listener, not a speaker on this medieval stuff. Anyway, he said, without justice, what are kingdoms but great bands of robbers? So, I mean, justice is a very hard to define thing, first of all. I'm not in a position to do this, but um, uh, in the end, anyone has a feeling of justice inside, like we carry it with us. It could be rule of law, equality, fairness. It could be something retributive or rehabilitative. But whatever it is, the society needs a certain amount of justice to function. They need to be convinced what is going
Of
on
course.
is in line with justice, let's say. Uh, I mean, very hard topic, but just I'm passing it very quickly. Otherwise, this could be 10 books long stuff. But anyhow, if there is no justice, why would people accept being fined, punished, or deprived from their liberties, or to be told how they act and stuff? My thesis, I mean, just all the stuff that I'm thinking, like to come to this point, my thesis for this podcast is that some contemporary regulations do not serve justice or order. Instead, they waste time, they are inefficient, and the huge fines imposed by governments make them look like bandits. That's my thesis in one sentence. And I want to go a little bit deeper from this point, if it is okay. Take, for
Yeah.
example, data protection, just a super obvious example, if you ask me. Uh, let's talk about how it started, what it does. I don't want to get into too much details, but it is kind of close history. So I think we all lived all this. So we should be remembering those. In 2015, there was a case case that is referred to in the newspapers and stuff as Dieselgate, if you remember. U.S.
Sure, sure.
Environmental Protection Agency tried to fine Volkswagen for misleading carbon emission stuff. And this ended in a settlement, 14.7 billion US dollars.
Yeah.
So the US government made Volkswagen pay almost 15 billion US dollars to the government, let's say. And I believe, I mean, this has nothing to do, it looks like it has nothing to do with data protection, but I think this was a breaking moment which started a reciprocal loop in between EU, United States, and at some point, I believe other nations should. But European Union felt their enforcement was toothless. So before 2015, before all this Dieselgate stuff, there were talks about data protection, but it was underground, let's say. So this Dieselgate and this feeling of toothless enforcement and retribution feeling pushed Europe to pass a law called GDPR. I mean,
Sure.
even if you are not a lawyer, if you have nothing to do with our profession, I think everyone knows this. This is a new right that is, if you ask me, completely made up.
Yeah.
But this is something that is real, and this has been marketed like EU's digital sovereignty fight, etc., etc. But
Yeah.
if you ask me, very briefly, this was a reciprocity act. It was like, if you target my automotive industry, I will target your high-tech companies, kind of stuff. So, or if you target my national pride, Volkswagen, and we'll target Facebook, in more simple terms.
Sure, sure.
Also, like, this is not it. I mean, I'm gonna focus this, but there are lots of other very hard to understand compliance rules. Some of them, of course, make sense to a certain degree, but not all of them. For example, the wars, Iran, Ukraine, and the sanctions related to them, the money laundering issues, environmental law issues, etc., etc. In today's world, in what we can call the modern law, companies must really walk carefully. Otherwise, they are fined for billions of dollars, and billions of dollars is not a joke. For example, Meta was fined 1.2 billion euros for transferring data to US without necessary precautions, and
Yes.
Amazon was fined 746 million euros for processing data that is not in compliance with the GDPR. I mean, of course, countries can fine corporations. That is something, I mean, that's not unusual. 1 billion euro is unusual, if you ask me, but fining is okay. But my point is, who received those payments? Obviously, whichever administration fined Facebook and Amazon, right? So I think in
Yeah.
Meta case, it was Irish GDPR agency, whatever it is called. And in Amazon case, I think it was Luxembourg.
Okay.
I don't know what happens to the money once they receive it, but I wasn't paid for that, Matt. I don't know if you did.
I personally did not receive a check
Me
for
too.
any of that
Me
money.
too.
So let me see if I am following you correctly.
Yeah, of
So
course.
part of your thesis is that this, what shall we call it, regulatory tit for tat.
Yeah.
You do this Volkswagen fine, we're gonna mess with Facebook, etc. So this regulatory tit for tat. So part of this regulatory tit for tat is overflowing into, it's interfering with deals across borders and making international investments and stuff like that. Is that correct?
It is correct, but like as in the, like I'm gonna bring all this to the justice at some point. I will try to do this, but like this is a law, right? A law without justice is extremely meaningless. Like that is the philosophical ground of a law, right? It must serve
Yeah.
justice. I mean, it's
Uh-huh.
like gravity and physics. Like they can't exist without each other. So my point is like European Union funds an American company for the sake of protecting my face and my personal data, my shoe number, whatever my personal data is, they are protecting, and I have received nothing out of it. And I don't know, Matt, but for me, I'm actually okay with my data processed for easy shopping, for like health recommendations, for, I don't know, for shopping, for a good book recommendation. I would appreciate. You recommended me a book and I bought it. Thank you very much for that. It could have been you, it could have been Amazon. It doesn't matter for me. Like, I understand, like, for this kind of stuff, I mean, if you want to be opt out of this recommendations, you should have the right to do so. But I never asked my data not to be processed. I mean, it doesn't make sense. Uh, and look, what is the consequence of this? Again, I work with startups and technology companies a lot, time to time. So I'm also curious about all this stuff. If you remember, in around 2018, just around this rigid enforcement of GDPR stuff, Amazon was working on facial recognition-based shopping. So it
Yeah.
was supposed to be you go to a shop, you buy some stuff, you just go out and they bill you after you left. I think this is very convenient. This is, this is one step to better futures kind of stuff, if you ask me. But now after this GDPR, I doubt that it is possible, even if it is possible for, I mean, if someone finds a miraculous legal formula to get over all this, it will be 10 times more work and it will be 10 times less attractive because of the risk of extreme fines. And what it doesn't make sense to me is like, I mean, like, look, now we are posting our faces, voices, and thoughts online. Okay, but when I do it for shopping, it is fine. I think it's the same thing. Like you post your face on Facebook, okay, but when they transfer that picture to United States servers, they are fine. It doesn't make any sense to me. And as individuals, we pay an innovation tax out of all this because what this regulation does, it presses the brakes of innovation. So we are paying an innovation tax out of
And
this.
when you mentioned this to me, this regulatory tit for tat and
Mhm.
the costs that we're paying for this, and that there are a lot of costs that we are paying for this regulatory tit for tat. So I ask myself, what is the motivation? Why are these bureaucrats doing this? You know, why is the US doing this? Why is Ireland doing this, et cetera, et cetera? And the first places that I went to were, well, maybe there's, I don't know, some risk avoidance here. Maybe there's some safety. But then you said, well, that's part of it, but it's in large a counter move against the other side's approach. So can you dig into that a little bit more for us? Let's
Like,
dig into the
this is
motivations for this.
exactly my point. Thank you very much. I mean, I'm looking from a perspective how it should be. It should serve justice. If my rights are protected, I should be the one who is receiving the compensation. Like because before GDPR, it's not like I mean, in 2014, a year before GDPR, let's say, if someone uses your face commercially, let's say if Amazon changes its logo and makes my face his logo, I would have sued Amazon and be compensated incredibly. So, I mean, my personal data, which my face is, I think, a kind of a data in that manner, it was somehow protected by intellectual property rights and personal rights and etc. I think this is just a reciprocity move, and it is just a banditry. If you ask me to get $1 billion from an American company, I think, but I think this is part of a trade war that is going on. Actually, that is why one
Okay.
move from the one side and other move from the other side is expected. Um, but normally this stuff should serve justice, not nothing else. So that's my concern and complaint about all this stuff. Um, and like also the numbers. I mean, prove my point. Why would someone fine someone 1 billion euros? I mean, what kind of punishment is that? This is incredibly large amount of money. So like for me, it doesn't make any sense. But another issue, like another thing that doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, uh, for this, I describe what is in my head to Gemini, and it really helped me to find the shorter words for my longer sentence, and I appreciate it for that. It find this term called illusion of choice, which I think works great for me. Like for these corporate policies, let's go back to this bank example. You want to cancel your transaction. You sent $10,000 to your ex-wife accidentally. It was supposed to be your new wife's account, and you did a terrible mistake. And you are in a terrible position and in a hurry to correct this
Sure,
issue.
sure. Uh-huh.
I mean, at this point, do you have a chance not to say okay to banks' policies? Like, just a minute, let me discuss your data protection policies before I give you my mother's maiden surname. It's
Yeah.
such a nonsense. Of course, I understand the security and the like protection against piracy, etc. But banks already do this to protect your accounts. Otherwise, they are responsible. So most of these policies, they do not protect anything, if you ask me.
And let's dig into that a little bit more. The implications of this or what it causes to happen. Because you've mentioned, at the top level, you've got the regulatory tit for tat. I find Volkswagen, you find Facebook, it's stuff like that. And then you've mentioned the kind of the individual implications. It's less convenient for you to do banking. It's, your shopping experience at Amazon is not as good as, and so, but let's talk about stuff a little bit higher than individual, because and you're in the business of M&A and international investment. And so I would imagine that it's probably this regulatory tit for tat is probably complicating M&A activity and stuff in that area too. Is that correct?
Um, that is correct. Of course, it has like this is an inefficient system for sure. It affects, but another problem is maybe a part of the innovation tax is large
Oh,
corporations. They somehow they have teams for this and everything for this, but it is even harder for like mid to small size enterprises or also startups. Uh, like imagine you want to establish an health startup, a fitness startup. you can't track people's shoe numbers because it is personal data. And what good, I mean, what is it worth protecting for real? My shoe size is 44. I'm telling you now, I want my data to be processed. It's okay. I mean, and you can take this information and upload it into the United States server. It will not affect my life at all. But maybe this stupid obstacle prevents someone from establishing a life-changing app for you. Who knows?
Yeah, it's a good
That's the
point.
price you are paying.
So this innovation tax or this regulatory tit for tat is causing people to not start businesses because they're afraid, basically, right?
Before
No
this
problem, no problem.
GDPR, like some sectors are highly regulated as expected, like banking, investment issues and stuff are highly regulated, and it created an entry barrier, which made sense because we don't want anyone to be bankers. We don't want anyone to be able to collect money from the public. But
Sure,
with
sure.
GDPR, like now everything is highly regulated.
Okay.
So this is my point. This is the
Mm,
unnecessary hardship it causes to, especially to small companies. Look, Amazon, even if they do not comply with GDPR, they can pay $1 billion. That's okay for them. But I can't pay $1 billion, so that scares me. I am not doing an enterprise business. That's why.
and so, but before we wrap up, I have one more question for you about this, and that's basically you're probably pretty close to, and and I'm not familiar with the pushback on stuff like this. So I would imagine that if, for example, if the regulatory tit for tat is, I don't know, cranking down on privacy rights or something like that, or whatever the regulatory tit for tat is doing. And somebody at some point, whether it's, some biggie like Amazon or Apple or, some little, one person startup or I don't know, somewhere along the way, somebody's going to be pushing back and saying, hey, this is ridiculous. You're getting in the way here. So, just before we wrap up, so tell us a little bit about what you see happening and where the pushback against this regulatory oversight is coming.
I'm not sure there's a pushback. I think everyone is happy finding American corporations
Really?
billions of dollars. For example, I mean, should I criticize my country online? Yes, I should. There's a data protection agency in Turkey. I mean, so we are not part of the EU, but we love this kind of regulations where you can find foreign companies for
Okay.
obvious reasons, for budget
Sure.
reasons.
Sure.
And they
Sure.
use that right with pleasure. With pleasure,
Uh-huh.
they use it. So, I mean, for me, and also like my colleagues who they love it because they make money out of this GDPR stuff. We also do that. I enjoy it. Thank you very much for GDPR. But eventually, as a human being, I don't think this serves any logical sense or logical definition of justice. It doesn't do
Uh,
anything for society, if you ask me.
sure. Sure. Okay. So, well, we've got to wrap things up here for today. So, thank you very much for joining us, John. It was a great pleasure to have you on the podcast. And again, for our listeners, so Alper and I will be back in a near future episode to take some of these issues that John mentioned them today and to look at them and discuss them through a presentation and communications lens. So thank you very much, John, and I'll talk to you later.
Thanks for having me. It was a pleasure.